Hi guys, just want to go through with you some ideas for how you can test some concepts for clarifying unknowns as part of your project folio. So in the project folio, in the task boundaries and constraints, it says that you're given a few different pieces of balsa wood to use for your model. So here we've got, these are samples that are cut down, but this material here is 100 millimeters by 1.5 millimeters. And they come in 900 millimeter lengths. We've also got 6.5 millimeter square material, and they also come in 900 millimeter lengths. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple of ideas today for how you can test some stuff, particularly if you want to test some stuff at home. All right. So what I've got here is a sample that's 600 millimeters apart. This represents the span of your bridge. Okay. Now, as you can see here, this flexes quite a bit, but we want to be able to actually get a little bit more conclusive data. So an idea that you can do for that is just sort of use a rule to measure how much it deflects, okay? You also might like the idea of using an object which has a known mass. So in this case, this is just a block of wood. I've measured the mass at 200 grams, and I know that that's representative of about 2 newtons, okay? So placing that in the center, I can see that it sags a little bit, okay? And using a rule, I could actually measure that deflection, okay? I might make a comparison with another object. So this hammer weighs just over 700 grams, representative of about 7.5 newtons. And you can see that when I apply that point load in the center, it sags and deflects right down to the bottom, okay? So we don't yet know what that sort of means, but you can see that there's something happening there. If I use a different sample, I've got this one here that I can place the supports at 200 millimeters apart. So you can see that those supports are much closer now, and if I just use my finger here to apply some pressure, you can see that it doesn't deflect nearly as much. I wonder what will happen when we put the 7.5 Newton force on. Okay, you can measure that and see what happens. Please don't think you have to do this stuff. This is just some ideas that you might like to think about. With the thin sheet material, you might like to think about what happens with the material when it is cut with the short grain, okay? It bends quite a lot, and if we apply a lot of pressure to it, it will snap easily, okay? Now, that's because the short grain is allowing the material to bend. This piece here, I've cut as long grain, okay? And if I apply the same sort of pressure, you can see that it's able to withstand a much higher compressive strength, all right? Here I've cut some strips and I've doubled them up, and I've created a very simple sort of box section, or maybe like an I-beam, okay? So different box sections and I-beams, H-columns, are things that you might want to look into as part of your research. I hope that helps. At home, if you don't have random blocks of wood and things like that, even think about using known quantities. Maybe it could be a can of tomatoes that you've got in the pantry. It could be a tub of margarine that you know is 500 grams, okay? And remember, we're always converting to newtons, okay? Hope that helps.